Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Untitled video podcast. Hopefully, we'll have a name for this soon. But
Untitled is not the name.
Untitled is not the name.
Yeah.
But my name is Jami. This is.
And I'm Vic.
And we are the co-owners and founders of Harborstone Homes, a real estate team here at Premier Plus Realty in Cape Coral, Florida. Mm-hmm. We serve all of Southwest Florida, so Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Estero, Bonita, Naples, basically anything in Southwest Florida. He joked that it was anywhere the Gulf touched, but we're not going to go with that because I'm not committing to a 6-hour drive to Destin.
I'll commit to the 6-hour drive if the beer's cold.
No, we have referral partners up there. I'll hook you up. All right. But this first video, we wanted to take a few minutes to introduce ourselves and kind of talk about how we ended up here. So first of all, like I said, my name's Jami. I am the CEO and Director of Operations. So all the things that go on the back end, including keeping this guy in line, all fall.
That's a full-time job, actually.
That's my job. So all the systems, all the marketing, everything like that, which is not out of my wheelhouse. I actually have a degree in business. Went to the University of Colorado at Denver. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration with an emphasis in management. Wow.
You got it.
I nailed it that time. Like, I haven't done that in forever. That is a mouthful. Why they couldn't have come up with a shorter name, I don't know. But while I was getting my degree, I was working at Chase Bank. Started off as a teller, worked my way up to being a assistant branch manager, which is basically an operations manager. They do all the audits and handle all the money. That's where I met this handsome gentleman.
That's right.
We did not work together, just to clarify.
Don't come for us, HR.
Oh, Lord, HR. I don't know if it was in 2013 or 2014, but they made the decision to get rid of the ABM position. And I was kind of forced to make a jump, but I had been thinking about it. We had been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, God gave you one of his famous pushes.
Yeah. But
okay.
I got my real estate license and I'd been thinking about it for a while because my mom's been in real estate since forever. I don't know specifically when she started, but it's back when there were MLS books and you faxed over a handwritten copy of the contract.
God help the real estate agents of yore.
Oh God, I'm so thankful for technology.
Oh my God.
But I got into the industry and a couple of years later I got my broker's license, started my own brokerage, and then we fully intended to build that out, but then we made the decision to move here to Florida and move down here. We were with a larger team for a while. I was director of operations and marketing. You were a sales leader at one point. And just God gave us another one of those doors that he forces you through. It is time. I can't do that well. Mufasa. So here we are. Here we are starting our own team.
That's right.
So give us I kept mine short and sweet.
Yeah,
I was pretty
you
proud.
Did. I am proud of you too.
All right, so
my goodness.
Give us the 2-minute spiel.
You guys
Vic.
are lucky. No, I'm just kidding.
God.
I'm kidding. I'm Vic. I am the president and director of sales here with Harborstone Homes. I will be managing the sales team and all of that fun stuff. So
and selling.
I'll be selling myself.
Yeah,
not selling myself. That didn't sound right.
Wow.
I will also be selling real estate.
Cut that out.
Control Alt Delete. Anyway, my story starts somewhat similar. I was introduced to entrepreneurship through my parents who owned an auto body shop and a dealership back in Colorado. So I grew up working over the summers there, seeing my parents do their thing. Fell in love with it, with the entrepreneurial part of it specifically. But then I got into banking circa 2005. Started off as a teller like Jami did and worked my way up the corporate ladder. Towards the latter part of my career, I was in commercial lending, and which is where I got my first big introduction into real estate, helping my clients buy brick and mortar buildings for their companies, etc. So that was a lot of fun, getting to see those dreams kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, so if you have a business and you need to pick somebody's brain on some creative financing to help for their next step, you know who to talk to.
You can talk to me, but I got to give you the disclosure that I'm not an accountant, all right? I'm a realtor, all right? A good-looking one, but a realtor. No, just kidding. But yeah, no, after spent a lot of time doing that and enjoyed it thoroughly, and then I was planning on transferring with the bank down here to Florida when we decided to move. And
God said, nope.
yeah, exactly.
That's basically
The
what
pandemic happened, and Chase stopped their transfers, company to company transfers. So I ended up having to leave that career.
Yeah, we had already sold our house in Colorado and bought our house down here in Florida. So we really didn't have another choice. Like it was happening.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And that was fun.
yeah. I mean,
But I got into real estate back then, though, and I honestly haven't looked back. I absolutely love it. I get to work with this smoke show every single day, so I've absolutely enjoyed it.
yeah. So would you go back?
To the bank or to corporate?
Okay, to the bank or to Colorado was where I was getting at.
Oh, no. They'd have to drag my dead body across state lines. I'm never leaving Florida. I love this place.
All right, so let's talk about, that's kind of the background, but how did we get here? How did we move to Cape Coral? How did we choose that?
Absolutely. Well, you got to tell that story. You tell it a little bit funnier than me.
I think you're just more embarrassed about how it happened. So it all started with The Bachelorette.
Hey, there it is.
There it is. Like
I
right off
usually
the
get
bat.
a lowbrow look from
two
my male
words,
friends.
The Bachelorette. So I used to watch that Bachelor and Bachelorette like all the time growing up. My mom loved it. I'd watch it with her like all the way back to, I don't remember the first season, but the second season, Trish and Ryan. I love them. But I was watching it.
Also Coloradoites, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they're in Vail. Yeah, I think they're in Vail.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Anyways, I would watch it all the time, and he'd do the manly thing of like come in and
Grumble.
this
This
is
show's
stupid.
stupid. And then I'd stop and watch it for like 5 minutes and be like, "What's going on here? Never mind. This is stupid."
Well,
Walk
why
away.
is she crying? Didn't she say blah blah blah? And so he got like fully invested to where I was like, Monday nights are now our time to watch The Bachelor and Bachelorette. And we did that for years, and then the season came. It was Hannah Brown's season, and they were going to a hometown with Tyler Cameron. Where I pulled these names from, I don't know.
It's a steel trap up there.
Clearly a momentous
I can barely
episode
remember
for us.
my name half the time. So,
But they were in Jupiter, Florida, and they go out on the boat and they pull up to a restaurant and they get out and like they anchor the boat and have drinks and everything. And his comment was, "Oh my God, I want that to be our life."
Yeah.
We had, so we kind of got a fast forward of like why that we wanted that to be our life. Prior to you getting into real estate and all of this happening, you were still at the bank. We decided to do what everybody was doing then and get into fix and flips.
yeah, darn UHGTV and Chip and Joanna.
Yeah. Apparently, we had this conversation while we were camping.
Correct.
I remember that camping trip, but I don't remember this conversation. But you had approached me and you were like, "This is what we're doing." And again, we talk about creative financing.
We figured it out and made it happen.
He had figured out the whole thing. Well, and ironically, the very first property that we had, the address was on Florida. So
Avenue
that's
or street or whatever.
something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Regardless.
I just remember the street
Serendipitous.
names, Florida, Ammons, Wickerdale, but
Yeah.
I don't remember specifically the full addresses. It doesn't matter. But unlike most people, our first fix and flip was profitable.
Exactly.
We ended up walking away, I think, with like $5,000 or something like that. And we had decided
Nothing crazy, but it was still a profit.
but it was still a profit for our first one. And so we had talked about we were either going to buy an RV or a boat. And I'm so thankful we did not buy an RV. We'll tell that story at some point, but we found out shortly after that we hate RVing.
with passion.
So we found this little, with a passion. You found this boat. Some guy in Cheyenne was selling it.
Yeah,
So
Wyoming.
we drove up, bought that little 16-foot, what kind of boat was
Bayliner.
it?
Bayliner Capri.
Bayliner Capri,
Yeah.
inboard, outboard.
Such a great little boat.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Our first outing was interesting. Again, a story for another time.
Yep.
But we fell in love. We absolutely loved it. And the crazy thing was our kids were different people on the water. We didn't even have Logan back then. We just had our two older ones. And they were
They opened up. They were adventurous.
Exactly. And we were different people too. We were so much more. We just enjoyed it so much. And it started becoming a yearly thing. But when you live in Colorado and you're dealing with Colorado weather, you have what? 3 months of boating every year?
About, yeah.
June, July, and August. The
You have
water,
a little bit more, but the water gets cold.
the
on
water
either
isn't
of
even
them,
warm
No.
in June.
No.
And then you get to you might get to September, but it was almost like you're winterizing it by the
Before
end
you
of
know it, yeah.
September. It's absolutely crazy. And so hence why we were loving the water, but
Colorado just wasn't giving us the access to it.
No, we only had lakes, and there was not really restaurants
Right.
on lakes there and stuff like
Like I
that.
said, lakes outside of, not the other word.
Yes. I say reservoir.
Oh, gosh.
I
Let's
know
not go
it's-
down that path.
I know it's not that, but anyways.
But anyway.
Anyways, so we're sitting that night and he's like, this is what I want my life to be.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, where's Jupiter? And come to find out, it's on the east side of Florida. Well, I was born in West Palm Beach, Florida. Only lived there 3 months, so I'm not really native. But we'd go back there and visit, and Dad would always talk about
You went
how
from being a Florida baby to just a Florida babe.
just thanks, baby. But Dad would always talk about the waves, on the
and
East
wind
Coast.
and yeah.
Yeah, and so for boating, that's obviously not ideal. So I was like, let's look at West
Not our
Coast.
type of boating.
Not our type of boating.
Yeah.
We're very
Like a leisure boating.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So I was looking at the map on the west side of Florida, and like, yes, there's places with canals in Southwest Florida.
Yeah,
like
pretty
you've
much
got
anywhere
Marco,
you go, yeah.
Naples, Tampa, all of those places.
Punta
But
Gorda. I mean,
Yeah.
Wherever, yeah.
but Cape Coral has how many miles?
Like 400.
400 miles. It's more than
Italy,
Venice.
yeah.
So when you're looking on the map, that without zooming in closely, that
Yeah.
really pops out already.
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
you can see it. So I was like, hey, here's a place that we could live. And
Mhm.
look, these people have boats in their backyard. And I'm not talking.
She said that. I wasn't even looking at her phone when she said that, and that statement caught my attention. I'm like, what? Zoom in. I need to see this.
And we're not talking about like boats in like parked in your backyard.
Yeah.
We're talking boats in a canal on your backyard
Yeah.
with access to the waterways. So booked a trip down here. By that night, you were already a part of the Facebook groups trying to figure it out.
I dove in deep. No
Booked
pun
it-
intended.
Booked a trip down here. We fell in love and made the jump. So
Yeah. What I always like to say is that we booked a trip down here, came down, we fell in love. We booked a second trip down here just to show our parents the place, and by the time we were back, we had decided to sell everything and move. I mean, it was that quick.
yeah. So from your perspective, if people are thinking like, why would I pick Florida, or why would I pick Cape Coral specifically, or Southwest Florida? Like, let's talk about Cape Coral. Why, from your perspective, did you want to move to Cape Coral?
What really resonated with me is that it was a big town, but with a small town feel. So you have access to grocery stores and all the amenities that you might want, whether it's, whatever kind of dry recreation you want to go to, or Costco's and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's a small town feel. When you go to the bars, when you become part of the community, it's like Cheers. You go everywhere, everybody knows your name, you know everybody, you become loyal, and it's just like this really wholesome small town feel down here. So, I mean, it's over 200,000 residents now, which is decent size.
Yeah, which is crazy.
But again, big town, but with a very small town feel.
Yeah.
Which, again, for me, I love.
Which you're over here talking about the small town feel, or like, even though it's a big town, and I'm like, it's all about the water for me. Like,
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that goes without saying.
yeah,
Right?
I think we picked Cape Coral specifically because at the time, well, it was small. It's going to grow. It's going to grow to over 400,000, which
that's what it was planned
crazy.
to be, but yeah.
But I remember when we were with Dad, we had come down. It was our second trip down, and we had come in through Tampa. I don't remember why, but we had driven down, and we were at this little bar on the beach in St. Pete's. It was like attached to a little hotel. I don't even remember what the hotel was. It was so small. But the guy, we were talking to him about Cape Coral, and he's like, it is the last affordable place to live on the water in Southwest Florida.
Correct.
Which is very true. I mean, yes, it was more affordable when we first moved down here. But even now, even though the prices have risen, it is still more affordable than most places like in Naples, Marco Island,
Absolutely.
Tampa. Like, you can make the move, and it's going to make sense. You don't have to
Absolutely.
get a multi-million-dollar property to live on the water.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So that's why you love it. That's why I love it.
Correct.
Let's talk about why, if you had to tell people in just a couple of sentences why they should move to Cape Coral, what would you say?
I think I already covered the biggest thing for me, right? And obviously you don't have to live on the water to live in Cape Coral. You can still get that small town feel down here and not have waterfront prices, right? But I just love it. It gives you access to beaches. You have Fort Myers Beach, you have Sanibel that you can just drive to. I just was talking to a client, and she said, I love living down here because I don't have to live on the beach to get to the beach, and which is great, right? You don't have to be in a multi-million-dollar house on the beach to be able to drive 15 minutes and get to one, which I think is a big deal. And for a lot of people, especially when they move down here.
Yeah, you get to live the coastal life while still. I think that I do agree with the whole small town, big town. I'm going to go back to that real quick because coming from Denver and living in Denver, we lived in Highlands Ranch specifically, if you're wondering. And
Shout out to Douglas County.
But like in Denver, you never left the bubble, right? But there was still, you had those things that made it feel like, even in Highlands Ranch, made it feel you didn't have to go half an hour to go to the grocery store or something like that. You still had downtown that you could go to. And I feel like that's nice about Cape Coral. There's, you can go down to downtown Fort Myers. You can go south, go to Naples and like experience high class dining and shopping and all of that.
Yeah.
But you're also, even us, if we want to go to Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, it is a 20 to 30 minute drive or 20 to 30 minutes on the boat. You're having a great day, but we don't live on the beach, but we get to experience it all the time while still getting the access to downtown and like the regular life. So I absolutely love that. And I think it's affordable. I think
it is
Cape
affordable.
Coral specifically is still really affordable.
It is affordable.
Southwest Florida in general, it's just a great place to live.
I mean, Florida in general overall is a great place to live in my opinion. But I think one of the really nice things as well is that obviously down here we have the seasonality with everybody from up north coming down to see us during vacation time. But when they're all gone, the beaches are for the most part empty outside of locals. And it gives you just kind of like this unbridled access to world-class beaches and places that you can go to that people come to vacation and spend tons of money to vacation to. You get to go to within a 30-minute drive, like Jamie said. So
yeah, and it's summer months, so I know like we go up to North Captiva, which you can only get there by boat, and we'll go up there with our friends, and there's literally nobody there.
Nobody there.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so now we've got people interested in moving to Cape Coral, Southwest Florida, hopefully by the end of this video. So if they're even thinking about it, they've got to give us a call. But why should they call us specifically here at Harborstone Homes?
Fair enough. So when I got into real estate, my biggest thing was I want to change the real estate industry for the better. Something that I witnessed with her going through other big brokerages that will go unnamed is that clients were treated as numbers or as widgets, and I hate that.
And the bank was like that too.
And the bank was like that as well. It was, who'd you sign up? Who'd you do this? It was constant. And I do not like that. I don't think that that's appropriate. So my goal since I got into real estate, and I think Jamie aligned with that really quickly as well with me, is that we want our clients to feel like family. And to us, I don't want to just close or sell you a house. I want to know when things happen in your life, when you plan to retire, when you're having your grandbaby, or when your kids are getting married, or when you get a new boat, all that kind of stuff I want to celebrate, and we enjoy it. And we've made lifelong friends in the industry since we've moved down here.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what actually brings me joy in my career as a realtor is it's like I said, it's not just selling you a home. Yes, that's part of it, but it's also creating that long-term relationship that's what truly brings me fulfillment.
And I would hope that is something that sets us apart, because obviously we've got the marketing, we've got the experience, we have the negotiation skills, but having that care is so important, and it's something that gets lost in this industry.
Absolutely.
A lot.
If you don't want to feel like just a number, if you want to feel like you are being heard and cared about and have somebody on your team, call us. That's our goal.
All right.
What we want.
Thank you guys for joining us on this episode, I guess. I can't wait to do more of these. We're going to talk so much more about living down here, what it's like, just real estate, but also Cape Coral living, Southwest Florida living, all of that in the future. So subscribe to the channel. We'd absolutely love it.
Click the buttons.
We can't wait to see you next time. Thanks so
for
much.
Joining.